Hi, it's Denise. Do you want to highlight your company on my next episode of Standout? Click below. I'm Denise Summers, your host of Standout, the video series celebrating the successes of women business leaders and founders. Today we're joined by Mary O'Sullivan Anderson, CEO, and Maria Martiniello, the Director of Sales, Marketing and Communications for the Better Business Bureau. So welcome. And thanks for being on the show. It's great to have you here.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of misconceptions about the Better Business Bureau. And I would be one of the people that really didn't understand it until recently. So what is it and what isn't it?
Yeah, great question. The fact is our brand is more than 100 years. And so it's not uncommon to have questions about a long-standing brand. So maybe I'll start with saying what we're not. So
Perfect.
What we are not is a government agency. We're not a pay-to-play. You can't buy your way into the Better Business Bureau. And how we were founded were, years ago, more than 100 years ago, by a group of businessmen, just businessmen at that time. And they believed that there should be a marketplace where buyers and sellers can trust each other. And so it started off with ad review, and it's really just continued. Our organization today looks a lot different. We are boots on the ground in the community, supporting businesses and consumers to really make sure that we have a marketplace that they can trust.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. And so how does someone join the Better Business Bureau? What do you just sign up?
Yeah, no, actually there's a pretty strict accreditation process. And Marie, maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, so a business would come to us, and the great news is that you don't actually have to be accredited to become part of the BBB. It's a listing of both accredited and non-accredited businesses that have ratings that you could go to see whether they're a trustworthy business or not. So we have this great directory that consumers can use. And so if a business does want to become more involved and get accredited, then they would share their business history, information, time in business with us, their marketing materials, and then we vet all that to ensure that they are who they say they are and that they're trustworthy. So when a consumer like ourselves goes to the directory, then we can be very confident that what we're reading and seeing is the truth.
So can anybody, you have to be approved, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a very strict screening process that we go through with the business. And the one important thing to note is that businesses that do choose to become accredited, they agree to 8 standards of trust in order to become accredited and maintain accreditation. And it's also really interesting to note that we reject upwards of about 20% of businesses that seek accreditation. So businesses that just don't make the cut. We look at it through our lens, through our standards, and also through the work of our board of directors, and determine that they either need more time in business or appropriate licensing, competency licensing, in order to really be a trusted business in the community.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, we were talking about women earlier. When I moved recently, I'm on my own, and I didn't want to have just anyone in my house with my valuables. And so I go to the BBB directory to find those businesses so that I can feel confident that workers or contractors that are coming to my house, they say who they are. They say they are. So so that's really important. And I think for us and for our families and for safety all around.
Absolutely. And so what would be a reason that you couldn't get approved? What would be some of the things about your business that would keep you from getting approved?
Yeah, so it's actually, it varies oftentimes by industry as well. Okay. But we do look at things like what's their time in business? Are they a credible business? We look at complaints. We look at their advertising to make sure that they are actually advertising honestly. We look at any government action against the owners of the company. Right. It's pretty comprehensive. And the other thing that we do is we really work to educate the business through that process. So if you do seek accreditation and you're not extended that offer on the first time, know that we're going to continue to work with you to make sure that we're doing those building blocks to help you and support you in your business. Which is ultimately really our goal, is to build better businesses so that consumers can trust them.
So you're really you're not really kind of a listing sort of agency or just a directory. You actually support the businesses and even the ones that aren't ready to be members to become the type of business that could be on that that could be part of your directory. Is that a fair way to put it?
Absolutely, absolutely. We actually do quite a bit of education that is geared both towards business education and consumer education. That really falls under Maria on the marketing and communication side. If you maybe want to speak to some of the programs on that, Maria.
Yeah, so when it comes to anything like fraud prevention or spotting a scam or cybersecurity safety, we're talking to people like your parents. We're talking to young people about romance scams and frauds. We're talking to businesses about how to keep their business and their employees safe. So, you know, recently we were also talking to an association for new immigrants. And on that call, it was a webinar, we had 20 countries represented in 4 continents. And just talking about coming to Canada, they're already approved to come, but what to look out for, because can you imagine coming to Canada and within the week getting a call from the CRA and being scammed into something that you're not aware of? So we do a lot of that training, those educational pieces prior to, you know, our like new communities coming, new people coming to our community. And so whether it's business, consumer, or business that's not doing business with us as an accredited business, we are just educating and doing all that great work out in the community.
And that happened not that long ago, that a young woman, I think, came from South America or something and was scammed by somebody saying they were from the CRA, and she sent them all her money. I think,
sadly, I mean, it happens all too often, and we have a great heat map that you can look at scamtracker.org. You can go on there. It's a live heat map of all the scams. So even if you're not looking at scams in your area, maybe you have family or friends in other areas that you want to take a look and see what are the more prevalent scams that, you know, my mom or my son might fall victim to. You can go on there and look. And then, of course, if you become a victim of scam, we want you to make sure that you're reporting that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that, you know, we always really try and communicate with consumers if they do fall victim to scam is there's no embarrassment. We use that opportunity to educate and to learn and to continue to build programs and education around that.
Right. Well, it's a many trillion dollar industry.
Absolutely.
And so where can people find out more about the Better Business Bureau? What's your website URL?
Yeah.
We can say it together.
We can say it together, bbb.org. Yeah,
Oh, well,
all of our services are at bbb.org. We're constantly introducing new programs and services.
And is that where people can find the heat map?
Scamtracker.org for the heat map, but there is a link at bbb.org as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on the show today, and it's been great to have you and
Thank you for having
to learn
us.
more about the Better Business Bureau. In our next episode, we'll be talking about the seal of accreditation and more about what that means and what the process is. So thanks for joining us. I'm Denise Summers, the host of Stand Out. That's all the time we have today for this episode. Thank you for tuning in with us, and please remember to subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. We have new content being released every day.